In today's interview, we have Squadron Leader Vidula Avankar, who has served in Indian Air Force for more than 10 years. So, in this interview, we'll try to understand her journey of joining Indian Air Force, how does life in Indian Air Force looks like as an education officer, and also her life after Indian Air Force, and various learning that she had from the armed forces is something which we'll try to figure out in this interview. So, welcome, ma'am, for coming on this interview today.
Thank you, Akash, and thank you for inviting me and giving me this opportunity.
Ma'am, if you could just tell us, your journey of before joining the Forge, how did that look like?
Yes, you'll all be very surprised to know that I was a bookworm, a big bookworm who had nothing to do with the fields and grounds. And I was pursuing my graduation and post graduation in English literature from Pune University. But this urge to join the armed forces was always there deep down somewhere. So I started slowly working for it. I learned swimming. I learned range firing. I learned running basically. And slowly I improved on my stamina. And then I gave my SSB after my post graduation. I was very clear that I wanted to join as an education officer, be it the Army, Navy, or Air Force, anyone. So I started looking at the qualifications required. And for Air Force, post graduation was required. So immediately after my post graduation, while I was pursuing my MPhil, I also started giving these interviews, and I cleared both Army and Air Force in my first go.
Okay. Uh, Ma'am, my next question would be, what motivated you to join Indian Air Force? Because just now you told me you were selected for both Army and Air Force. So how did you make the difficult choice, between the two and choosing Indian Air Force? How did that happen?
One was a very practical reason for choosing it, and the other one was, which was a inherent motivation, was that my father had been in the Navy, Indian Navy, and he had fought in the Indo-Bangladesh War, 1971 war also.
Okay.
So that was a big motivation. His stories, we had heard about them, his gunshot wounds and all we had been looking at. So it was always there deep down that yes, if I could, I would also want to join the service just like him. And when it came to actually clearing SSB, when I cleared my Army SSB, after that the process for selection for training is a little lengthier as compared to Air Force. So Air Force completes its process faster than Army. And after my first, I got motivated and I was confident that I will clear the second SSB also. So when I went for Air Force SSB, the process finished faster. So there was no dilemma in my mind, and I just joined Indian Air Force.
Okay. If you could tell us which year are we talking about when you went for SSB, and how was your experience during that two SSBs? How did you prepare, and what tips you would like to give to the aspirants who will be watching this interview?
It was way back before the 2YK started. It was in 1999
Okay.
that I gave my SSB, and 2000 I gave my second SSB. So one was in like June and one was in December. So just a 6 months gap in between them. And both my experiences were very good, because who doesn't like a free holiday? So SSB gives you a free vacation of 5 days, a chance to meet new friends, and a chance to see a new city. So for my Army SSB, I went to Bangalore, and for my Air Force SSB, I went to Mysore. So both the places were very good, worth seeing. Sightseeing was one of my agenda in going for the SSBs. So I enjoyed a lot. I made a lot of friends there. And the process wise, I will say that I was not tutored or coached, but I did take an advice from a friend of my father's. So he had basically given us a picture about what it is that the armed forces require and how our orientation should be when we are approaching these tests. So what he had told me, I still remember, and I still preach to the current SSB aspirants is, keep your manasa, vacha and karman consistent. Rest, everything God will take care of. So if you are consistent in your words, in your thoughts and in your actions, if there is nothing hidden inside your personality, then you will definitely get this. And second thing, we need to understand not everyone is suited for this kind of a job. So this is actually a selection process, not a rejection process. So they are trying to only see if someone is fit for the kind of life that they are going to face in the Indian Armed Forces, and they are choosing those kind.
There are a lot of things which happens in academy. So I think you would have gone to Air Force Academy. So how was your experience there? And if any memorable incident that you would like to share with the audience?
Definitely. Air Force Academy was a life altogether different from whatever I had gone through. I was living in a very safe and secure environment at home, where my mother used to wake me up, and early mornings were a big no-no. So you could sleep, somebody else was doing your jobs and things like that. When I came to Air Force Academy, suddenly life told me that you have to be on your own. You have to do everything on your own. So that was a big shock in the beginning, but I got through it easily. After that, the routine, the physical regimen that such a job, such a training requires, it also requires a big mental stability too. So if you break down mentally, your body will also break down. So once you understand this, the journey is easy. So I could not run even 500 meters in the first month, but by the end of 1 year, I was able to complete my 1.6 kilometers within the time limit given. So once you prepare, once the brain is ready, you also body gets ready. And one good example I will give in the whole academy life that I had was the field craft training camp. It's a short duration camp where all of you, the juniors, are going in a field like situation. You are left there in a field like situation, and you are trained in a field like situation. So the camaraderie, the esprit de corps, all of this comes out. At the same time, your own physical courage also improves. So when you are working like a team, you want to achieve the goal of winning all the races, all the competitions, you strive harder than what you can. And that is when I came to know that I have the capability and I have the stamina to go through all this. I can do it. And I also tried to do it. So with a little pull and a push from my peer group, I could also do it. So I loved it, enjoyed it the most.
If you could tell us, you joined as an education officer. So one day in your life as an education officer, how does that look like? And what are your roles and responsibilities? If you could briefly tell us.
Especially in the Indian Air Force, the education officer is more or less concerned with the training of personnel, be it the airmen or be it the officers. So generally, a day in the training institute is a very hectic day if you look at as an outsider. The day starts early at around 5 o'clock, when you will go to supervise that the trainees are having their morning porridge or the morning milk before they go for a health run. After that, you take them for a health run. After a 1 hour health run, followed by some physical exercises, some stretching, some cooling down and all, you come back, you quickly change, have your breakfast, and then you go to supervise whether they are all having their breakfast or not, getting ready or not. And then after that, you follow them up in their normal classes, where they are taught theory subjects, some professional knowledge, some practical knowledge in classrooms. All this is given. Once that is over, the lunch preparation starts, the lunch is served. After that, they have an hour of evening sports or an evening activity. Once that activity finishes, they go back, and after that, it is whole time for self-study and dinner. So you have to again check them till 10 o'clock that they do take rest. They are not indulging in any other activities. They are not wasting their time. They do go back to sleep in time and are ready for the next day. So looking at it from an instructor's point of view, it is a very hectic life. When you come to another normal flying station, again, the routine is again hectic, because you go early in the morning for briefings before the flying starts. It is also again early in the morning by 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock that the briefings start. After that, you come back to your office and do your professional work, like maybe some record keeping, some meetings, some planning for training, some preparation of course material and things like that. After that, in the afternoon, sometimes you will also have PT or a firing exercise, some other exercise, some group games that are going on, followed by some meetings or some cultural activities, some get-togethers, some debriefs, and then by 9 or so, your day ends. So in a field station or in a training institute, you are mainly concerned with the human resource. That is how your life is totally busy.
Okay, I have few questions with respect to what you answered. So usually you will be either in the, the field or the basic Indian Air Force bases or the academies. When you say academy,
Yes.
there are a lot of Air Force academies, say AFA, or also flying schools. So that is what you refer to. So that's where you'll be posted to.
Yes, so that means you can say there are some commands, operational commands in Indian Air Force. In addition to that, there is one very specific training command. So training command includes all kinds of training institutes, whether it be concentrating on officers, like you said, Air Force Academy Dundigal, that is the alma mater of the officers. Similarly, ATS, Airmen Training School, Belgaum, is the alma mater of airmen, those who belong to ranks below the officer rank. So for them, that is the alma mater. Then there are some professional training institutes based on various branches, various trades, like the flying school, the corps, and NDC, things like this. So there are many other institutes and training establishments also. So you can get posted to any one of these, or you can be posted to a normal flying station also. It is not that you will always be in training institute.
Okay. I also understand that your role would be even in those, say, Air Force bases, there'll be schools, right? Air Force schools, KVs. So were you playing any role there? Do people get, any role in these institutions as well?
Yes, as an education officer, you are by default either the executive director of Air Force schools, or you are the nominee chairman of Kendriya Vidyalayas of defense sector. That means whichever Kendriya Vidyalaya follows or is falling in an area which comes under the senior most Air Force officer. So that particular school's nominee chairman will be by default the education officer. What
Okay.
does this mean? This means that you will be looking after the administration, the management, and the financial management also of both the schools, Air Force School as well as the Kendriya Vidyalayas.
Okay. Okay. Ma'am, understanding how, the life of education officer looks like, if I ask you three life lessons that you have learned from Indian Armed Forces, what would they be?
Yes, as I said, life as an education officer is more or less involved with human resource. So, the very first lesson that I learned from these 10 years is human resource is the most important investment that we can do in. Secondly, training of this human resource is again another very essential job. And thirdly, if we can contribute to this training, the human resource becomes from an investment to a capital. So these are the lessons that I have learned, and I have tried to again get into the same field of training and development of human resource.
Okay. Ma'am, if you could just tell us about your the blog that you write, what do you write about? If you could just briefly tell us so that audience also can go and understand.
In my blog, lifeskills.center,
Okay.
I'm talking about various things related to the Indian Air Force, how, as a woman officer, whatever experiences I had. Say, for example, I will not quote any names, but we all have seen that a lot of movies here and there are floating which say that they are the genuine versions. They are sometimes known as biopics also, or they are fictional things. So here I'm also in a small way trying to record my own experiences and trying to tell people honestly what it was from my angle to be a woman officer of the Indian Air Force, how the process of training, of evolving through women officers happened in an Indian Air Force That is what I'm trying to say here. So you can read more blogs. I have a complete series on women officers in Indian Air Force. So you can read from my academy days till how you lead life in a combat like situation. And then I'm mostly interested these days in something known as military intelligence. From the times of Kargil, we realized as officers we have to write something known as service papers. So we are inculcated into a habit of learning lessons from our mistakes, understanding history, and improving on it. So in this exercise, I chose some words. I was sometimes given some words and the lessons that we learned. So after the Kargil war, especially, I learned that it was a huge mistake on our part from the intelligence angle. So I started to read more about this, and I started to explore this field of military intelligence. And I have written a few blogs. The process is still in continuation. I am still writing. And recently I have written a blog on how there is a pattern in the kind of deaths that are taking place related to our scientists. More so, how the pattern has changed. So in earlier days, like in the Cold War situation, death was how they were neutralizing our scientists. But today, that is not happening exactly. There are other methods that are used, in specifically in the case of Mr. Nambi Narayanan. You will understand that the method that was used was very unique, very exclusive, but it has taught us a lot, because of that one incident, the whole process of our cryogenic engine indigenization got behind by nearly 20 years, 2 decades. Such a big loss of such a great human being, a scientist. So something that I have tried to explore through the angle of intelligence here. So these kind of things that I'm trying to write. Now I'm also writing about SSB in the recent blogs. You can always read about it.
Okay. Ma'am, are you also training few people to join armed forces?
Yes, when I spoke about that Supreme Court order, presently in the COVID time, so we three officers, women officers who knew each other, we was, as we all interact amongst ourselves, we were also interacting more during COVID time. So we realized that now that Supreme Court has made it mandatory for Indian Army to give women permanent commission, it becomes essential that this opportunity is spread to the rural parts of the country also. So we started one small venture called the hashtag Super 12, and we devised a method wherein we did a screening. 120 applications we received from girls from distant parts of the country, and we had already told them that we are going to give them free coaching, complete coaching for SSB, free, without anything, online platform, without any costs, anything. And so we chose through rigorous shortlisting and all. We gave them a test, we gave them an interview, we gave them PIQs to fill, everything they have done. And now we have chosen our first 12 girls whom we find are suitable candidates. Now we are going to train them.
Ma'am, one final question that I have for you is, there are a lot of people who join as short service commission officers in armed forces. So what opportunity does it provide to them in terms of, the learning from armed forces and what they can do in the future? So how does Indian Air Force equip them with? If we could just put light on the significance of short service commission.
In the armed forces, even if it is a short service commission or a permanent commission, it gives you a way of life, a way of thinking. So that disciplined life, problem solving ability, the confidence to perform even under the most stressed situations, and doing all this being a group member, not just being a leader, but doing it as a follower also, and as a team member. These are some of the skills that the life in armed forces provides you. Secondly, for all those who are joining as a short service commission officer, sometimes they feel that the career in future is blur for them. But let me tell you that recently Supreme Court has given its order which says that all short service commission officers are to be considered for PC. So that's a very good opportunity once again, from a short service or a short career that you were looking at in the beginning, you can go on and opt for a permanent commission if you are found to be eligible. So that is one thing. Secondly, even if you do not opt for a permanent commission and you come outside, you have a great employability skill set which can make you an entrepreneur. Like most of us, you will find, become entrepreneurs. Why? Because they feel that they can single-handedly handle a new project, a new venture, or things like that. So it gives you great sets both ways, inside the armed forces as well as outside in the civilian street.
So what, according to you, is basic leadership? What does that mean? And, how armed forces help you develop your leadership skills?
Own personal experience. Although maybe SSB chose me because they saw some officer like qualities in me, but initially at the beginning of my career, even I was less assertive. Forget about being aggressive, maybe I was not even assertive. So slowly I became more assertive. That was a great change that happened in me. I started looking at life as a whole picture, not like a segment in isolation, only concerned about myself. No, whenever I look at a problem or whenever I look at a situation, I look at it from a whole aspect, think from the people who are there in that situation, and then try to implement changes in that situation. So my life lesson would be that trust your instincts and respect the human resource. So that is what I have learned.
Yeah, got it, mom. Mom, so I have basically understood, how and what the role of an education officer looks like in Indian Air Force. Yeah, thank you again, mom, for joining me today on this interview.
Thank you. I am, the honor is completely mine that you gave me a platform to share my views. Thanks a lot. I
Thank
really
you, mom.
enjoyed this.